Welcome back to World Crisis Radio this week. A lot of action on Twitter. Take a look at my Twitter at Webster Tarpley. Plenty of stuff about the election campaign, along with issues to do with Syria, Middle East, and so forth, as well as, of course, tarpley.net, and keep up with everything, including this Press TV interview of a week ago today, which goes into Syria, and you can see there's a transcript of that that they've done at the Press TV website. So do take a look at that. Now, the answer for Europe, there are some elements. No immediate prepackaged answer. There never is. So get used to thinking that don't get used to thinking that there is one. The Euro Tobin is within reach. This would be a significant step forward, even if it's in a perverted form. I don't care. Things are so far gone. The situation is so desperate. Any positive step is a good thing. And remember, the Euro Tobin unleashes a complete hysteria on the Anglo-American side. This is what Cameron led the British basically out of the European Union in order to avoid a tax on speculative turnover, a concrete attack on finance capital, a way to make the Wall Street gangsters pay. A concrete attack, right? Taking some money out of their pocket and putting it back into the public treasury. Now, of course, since we're dealing with Sarkozy and Merkel, they think that this money is going to be used for future bailouts or God knows what. Nevertheless, that genie has got to get out of the bottle. Sarkozy said at the beginning of the week, France will do the Tobin tax alone if necessary. Then he got together with Merkel. Merkel says we need the Euro Tobin. The estimate is 55 billion euros. That's chicken feed because this particular version of the Euro Tobin is so small. The British are hysterical. The Geithner Treasury is hysterical. And nevertheless, I see libertarians writing on the Internet, oh, it's a globalist trap. It's not a globalist trap. Thank you, dear libertarians, for representing the London and U.S. Treasury position. But the Euro Tobin is something that the globalists do not want, because once this idea is abroad in the world, once the American population realizes, which they still haven't, that Wall Street pays no sales tax on their quadrillions of turnover, including high-frequency trading, push-button trading, program trading, flash trading, 1 million trades a second, no sales tax. You buy a pair of shoes, 10% comes out of your hide. So this has to be redressed. And as usual, the libertarians run tremendous interference for the Wall Street crowd, because they say that's tyranny. You want to tax speculative turnover of Wall Street parasites and financiers? That's globalist tyranny. Well, I'm afraid not. So there it is. Push hard. If you're in Europe right now, the answer is basically two things. Push hard for the Euro Tobin, and then you want to see that money goes to maintain the social safety net. That's the other part that you want to stress, but within that package, you can do it. The other thing is, how is it that Standard & Poor's are still walking around free? How long will they abuse our patience? This is impossible. Dear France, you're now shivering, teetering at the receiving end of a downgrade from S&P. What would General de Gaulle do? He would have various French police organs arrest these people. They would be hauled off to La Santé or some other place of criminal confinement. There would be a ton of legal steps that could be done. This is le parti de l'étranger, the party of the foreigner, is attacking France. You know, Austria, think of something. Italy, we have Judge Ruggiero. Where are you, Judge Ruggiero? You've got to arrest some of these people. Spain, Portugal, countries that have been around for a long time, great nations with tremendous historical traditions. It's time to assert that you still exist and that you're not going to be dictated to by a bunch of parasitical finance oligarchs sitting in an office getting printouts from the New York Fed, the CIA, MI6, and God knows what else, and then orchestrating these attacks, because that's what they are, These are attacks. This is not a technical judgment. This is a political attack. Do you exist, Europe? Will you fight? Are you going to run away? Right? Are we in May and June of 1940, where France gets rolled over in 40 days? This time by a bunch of gangsters in an office, not even by a significant military force. Now, we're also looking at the destabilizations. The Russian one, of course, always interests us a great deal. In the middle of this, as I pointed out last week, we have the golden youth, the computer-savvy youth. Now, some of them are the sons and daughters, some of them are the young wolves of the early globalization and the IMF shock therapy. But if essentially you think of that leadership cadre that ruled Russia in the 90s, Chubais, the Prime Minister Yegor Gaidar, Boris Nemtsov, a couple of others, and then, of course, the oligarchs, right? Berezovsky, Potanin, Khodorkovsky, who at least has been put on ice in Siberia. These people running the democratic movement are essentially the next generation of that. And look at this guy, Alexei Navalny. Oh, my heavens. We look at his resume. What do we find? Yale, Harvard, Cambridge University in Britain. The National Endowment of Democracy has been paying him since 2006. His first anti-corruption campaign was against the East Siberian Pacific Ocean pipeline, which brings oil from Russia to China, something the Anglo-Americans hate because they can't cut it off. It doesn't go over the ocean, which is where they can attack it. So that was done from Yale. This was a Yale attack on this pipeline. This is the nomenclatura. This is the oligarchy. They've been there for a long time, and they've been there through communism. They've been there through shock therapy. They don't like Putin, obviously. The nomenclatura is interested, or significant parts of the nomenclatura want to have an alliance with the Anglo-Americans against Putin. And Navalny makes a big deal about the criminal corruption. Look, Gavarukhin, 15 years ago, put out his famous book, The Great Criminal Revolution. That told the entire story. But the Great Criminal Revolution were the shock therapists. They were Chubais and Gaidar and Nemtsov and the young reformers and young wolves of that time. So that's who's trying to take power in Russia. And this is absolutely crazy. So we'll try to do some more foreign policy here. Concerning Iran, obviously, the Israelis, the Mossad, has assassinated a leading Iranian scientist and engineer. And this is act of war. And as I've said many times, a real American president would issue an ultimatum to the Israelis saying, back off or you will be on your own. Don't expect you can drag the United States into a catastrophic war. And we have a leading Russian general saying there's a real danger of a U.S. attack on Iran, which there is. Back in a minute.